Lord, thank you for gathering us, and thank you for being with us. You are the light. Shine within us now. You are the Word. Sound within us now. You are the gate, the door. Open to us now. Open onto your vision of us now. Good morning to you. I didn't get the Lord's today. Yesterday I forgot to eat. Today I forgot to shave. We're running tight, man. I said many times, but I said last night, man is image of God as the knower and lover of all that he sees. And if you remember in the beginning, I protested that I have no intention of being systematic in these conferences. I offer only disconnected and possibly paradoxical glimpses of the whole truth, and few of them. Don't get after me for what I don't say. But at this point, I want to confess to this much system, this much connectedness behind all the various glimpses. It seems to me that they are all rooted in this realization, in these realizations really, that God is love. That he is an infinite awareness that is infinitely loving. That his very being is yes, powerful, pure yes. His very being affirms all that he knows, and that affirmation, his love, his self, is all the power there is. I haven't said that before. All the rest, we'll come to this later, all the rest that we call power is weakness. And that finally, and that his power is creative, and therefore utterly immanent in its operation. You're not going to feel him slapping you on the face. You're only going to feel him moving up living water from your belly, in your belly, from within. And you're not, And finally, what we got to is that we are created and called into being to be knower lovers like him, and to exercise our capacities in the way he does by loving all that we know. Everything I spout from now on is coming from that set of insights. I want to call it a vision. What is man? Man, for me, is the miracle. We speak of the search for God and of the experience of God, as the goal of our lives in the monastery. And we search for him in many places and hope day by day for the experience. But our own lives are, from beginning to end, the experience of God, if we will only live our lives, reside in and contemplate our own living experience For each human person is a divinely crafted image and likeness of God, a living, effective image, a sacrament, therefore. Each of you is put in this world to be God, to play God to this world. You are going to experience God and come to know God and find God in this world only to the extent that you live your life in this world, that you live your godly life, which is nothing else than your authentic human life. For you are nothing else than an authentic image and likeness of God, brought into being to be that, held in existence, pressed on from within each day to do that. Caritas Christi, the love of Christ, urges us, presses us to be perfect as His Father, as God is perfect, to shine, just shine your loving light upon the good and the bad alike, and to become at last and be an absolute knower, lover of all things, just as He is. That is your part in the symphony, the play, God's plan. That is your God-given nature, which His love within you is pressing into being and pressing on each day toward fullness of being. You, a knower lover of all your eyes fall upon. That's it. That's it. That's it. And just to make sure you don't miss the point, that's it. When your life and your history peel away and drop off, like the husk opens and drops off a walnut or hickory, what will be found? It's all over. What will be found? What heaven needs to find there is a heart that doesn't know how to do anything at all but love, a kind of idiot heart that just looks at everything without discrimination and says, be. Yeah, you're all right. I love you. Right on. Live. It's not too sophisticated. When time shucks away both the body and the world and all the episodes of my life, it is all supposed to have nurtured within it this heart that seems to have forgotten just about everything, that looks at you nonplussed when you discuss hatred and envy and sourness and resentment. It doesn't know what that means, man. I don't get those words anymore. So that's it, fellas. And that's now. To keep on with the image, inside are mottled and somewhat defungused husks. That is what should be a building. That's the plan. God wants a house full of nuts at His party. The monastery, being unread, I can't be sure, but as has been suggested, I think, by St. Bernard, the monastery is to be a garden of nuts. I think you're doing pretty good here. think the Trappists are good gardens. People garden them nuts, I said, but what we need is people out of their heads with love. God's idiots who aren't as clever as Adam and Eve, who no longer know good and evil. They've grown kind of colorblind, just like God. They don't see evil anymore. They see things, realities, images and vestiges of God that they can celebrate, all of which are good and beautiful. And they love these. They know what to do with what they see. They love them. Where some see evil and spend their lives chasing it and wrestling and battling with it, they just see spaces between the goodness, the realness. They may realize that those spaces should be filled. They may feel that. But they don't know any other way to fill them than to push the goodness. They keep on cheering for what is as the best way to fill it out and fill up the spaces where it isn't. They're ready for the party. They know the beat and the songs. The songs in heaven, I suspect, will be a bit like some of our contemporary rock, not big on lyrics, like B, 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 or ya, 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 or come on, kid, break out of it, something like that, again and again. I think that's what they're singing at us right now. Okay. The will of God. You're looking for the will of God. Look at what you are. That's the will of God for you. That you be what He is willing you to be. That you live you. That you live out from His creating love within the very structure of your being, and not live against the pressure of love within you, urging you to godliness. I won't digress. The will of God for you is utterly simple. Be you well. Be His image and likeness. Look out with love. That's it. Be God to all your world. People come to me, sometimes very seriously lost, looking for the will of God. And they look for it in my face, or listen for it up in some corner of their head, or in some chance reading of Scripture. They look everywhere out there. And I can understand that. That's part of it. But I usually try first to situate them back in their own shoes. I say that I have no idea what the will of God in particular might be for you at any special time, but that I am sure of the will of God for you from one perspective. I see that God is making you a man, a human person, someone with a body to experience, with capacities to feel, to think, and to love, and with the freedom to choose how you will do such things. So I am sure of this much, that God wants you to be a good human being. That is, He wills, or at least He hopes, that you will use all these capacities, that you will live in them rightly and well. So I'm quite sure that God's constant and overriding will for you is that you walk into your God-given day, walk into the world that God is sending your way today, and look at it, and feel towards it, and figure out or sense what good things need doing. And then pick out the one you feel or figure most wants doing. You feel that, you figure that out. And do it. Bring that goodness into being. Be God in this world. Find the goodness that wants to be more goodness. And for us, I want to add the most fundamental aspect. All the while you're doing this, you're supposed to be loving. Loving all you look upon. All the while, be God to this world, for that is the most fundamental part of being a man. So let me correct what I just said. What you have to do each day is to pick out the second most important thing to do. And do that while you're doing the first most important, the one thing necessary, loving. Don't let the doing cut short or get in the way of the loving. This is a key idea now. I want to stay with it. I'm saying, as you've heard, that what you are is an image of God called by Him into the world to play God to the world. There was the play before any human being was thought. Really, I should say, there was the scene. For until man steps into it, there is no play. The whole drama arises when man is fashioned as an image of God and placed in the world to act the part of God toward it. Before, the scene is certainly a no-hands juggling act. Things are running themselves, but in all the material universe, there is no choice, no decision, no self-awareness, no possibility of love. So, when this image of God, when this actor is cast into the scene to play God, that's when the drama really begins. And that's the giddy risk God takes. For He does not create a God puppet or a God robot. He does not program this animal to just automatically and infallibly do as God does, to just look like he is doing as God does. He shapes this animal to be able to really do as God does, to really freely affirm all that bees, not shoved by anyone, not even by his Creator. This is the mind-blowing mystery and dignity of the created persons that you are. The archangel cries out, "Who is like God?" And God answers, "Every person is like me. Let us make man in our image and likeness. Let us make a knower lover like us." But that is a real knower lover who exists as an awareness distinct from the things in that awareness, like God, who exists, who has the power to say yes and really lift things into being, like God, and who is under no necessity to act this way at all. Like God, that's the zinger. The day that hits a man, it terrifies him. It terrified me, at any rate, and sets him giddy and reeling. Be what you are and live as you are made to live, and you will find God. You will come to experience His life in your living, and you will come to know the meaning of the Church's various and varied teachings about God in your own heart's lived experience. But it won't all feel nice and safe. Very few people, it seems to me, look into the depths of that image of God which they are, for it is full of terrors for frail human flesh. God is utterly free. He can do exactly what He wishes. Can there be two such freedoms? A lot of things in me want to say no. Please, no. God says yes. I don't even want to hear that sometimes. It frightens the life out of me to realize I am free, really free, that God Himself will not stop me from doing anything I choose. And I'll risk saying ahead of time, and He won't tell me at any time what to choose. But we'll come to that. What is man? Man is the seeming impossibility. In this universe of vibrating, exploding, rebounding matter, of leaping and soaring life, before man, there is one mind, one will, one ultimate freedom. For all the randomness of things, they do as they do because of what and where they are, and they can do no other. I say, how else could it be? And God says, oh, maybe it really could be otherwise. Let's make a creature that's really, really free. Let's make man in our image and likeness. I may be giving myself away, but I find that very, very difficult to take in and hang on to. I'm touching on one of those deep issues that want to explode in a dozen different directions, and to explode in more than an intellectual or academic sense. Freedom is the most frightening thing in the world for me, and I think I have enough experience with people to say for a lot of other people. There's sort of two freedoms I want to touch upon. One is kind of our root freedom, and is to me more a comfort than a burden. The other is that freedom, that same freedom, set in a world where it can have worldly and historical effects. I want to talk about the first. Let me just try to point to the most basic freedom, one that we dread to lose and that we cannot lose. I think it showed up for me best in pondering imaginatively the panic and horror of the modern torture scenes in the political prisons. I picture myself in a situation like that, and I'm afraid that I would betray myself, and I'm afraid that I would do things that I didn't want to do. And I've had an experience in the early monastic life, in the good old days, of what this brainwashing process is like. I'm not talking about other people doing something to me. I'm talking about the fatigue, the cumulative fatigue in the summer, like in Gethsemane, where I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning, went through all the vigils that we went through, and went to a students' mass, and went, I don't know what else I did, got the chapter. Now, it was 2 o'clock in the morning till about 7. We were still looking forward to the barley coffee at that point. And I'm sitting in chapter with Tom James or somebody giving the talk, and all of a sudden, I woke up. I was there. But I'd been operating, My commander, my will in that sense, was running the show. I was conscious, I was walking, I was doing everything, but ego wasn't there. And that's what they do to people with this lack of glucose and lack of oxygen over a long period of time. Finally, the man says to you, left, and you turn left. And you don't want to turn left, but you turn. Now it's the you don't want to that I want to point to. Because our ultimate freedom, in that sanctuary, it's a capacity to take a position. I don't know the word to put it, but you can feel it in yourself. And I think some of us don't touch this. I know I didn't. And you feel like it's lost. When you're in a panic, you do this, you do that. But there's a me that he sees. There's a man at depth who can still take a position, even toward what he himself did, even toward what he himself is doing. There is this fundamental choice to take your stand with or against what you did. That's the usual way of saying it. From the viewpoint I've been developing, the man within, utterly helpless, and even being moved in his limbs and words and feelings, still, when the torrent of confusion, like you're in a rapids, and leaves him a moment, he knows, and I want him to know. He knows in his heart that he does not say yes to that. That his heart himself is not saying yes to that. This basic freedom is the capacity to take a position toward whatever I am present to, the image and likeness of God, the knower, lover, the capacity to take a position toward whatever I am present to and either say yes to it or withhold my yes, my deepest inner yes. And I believe that in the direst situation, there is where God's comfort, that's where he comes. There is where God's comfort, his strength, his true power comes to me. And there he still offers, doesn't force, he offers his loving recognition and peace. Even there he does not force. He reverences this unbelievable freedom he has created. But at the bottom of me, beyond all my physical and emotional machinery, that's who I am. No one can touch me there from the outside. Only the love welling up inside my being can touch me there, and that is always pressing my freedom and myself into being, into truer being. But at that level, it has nothing to do with moving my limbs or speaking with my tongue. It has to do with stance, the words of my heart. No one can touch that. That's the way he's made us. And that ultimately is what God sees. Now, I've talked about the condition of being under torture, but what I'm talking about here is our somewhat beat up, confused, mechanical, impulsive, compulsive behavior. The torturer, I think, brings out. I know that I can, that I could be in this condition. And if I was in that radical condition, I think then, finally, I would realize all this other, I'm ashamed of it, I wish I didn't do that, but all this other is not where I am and not where he is. That there is this radical love, yes,